Hello. Today's episode is with an old friend of mine from the University of California, Irvine, Jack Perry, who is a drummer, producer, recording engineer, and poker player in the Los Angeles, Orange County area. Jack and I played in several shows and jazz bands and everything back at UC Irvine, and this was 2014 through 2016, so a long time ago. And Jack and I actually hadn't seen each other until pretty recently, and we happened to be in a poker game in a group of mutual friends and decided to do a podcast. And we talk about all sorts of cool things about Jack's process as a drummer and as a producer and the life of a gigging musician in the LA area and all sorts of fun stuff like that. But before we get to that, remember that I am a value for value based podcaster and musician myself, which means that any value that I provide to you through my content, I ask that you respond in kind by providing value back to me. There's a number of ways to do that. The easiest is probably liking, leaving comments, subscribing, sharing my content if you like it. All that stuff is a great way of providing value back to me for the value I provide to you. However, there's other ways. You can donate through my Venmo QR. You can donate Bitcoin to me through my Bitcoin QR, or you can sign up on a monthly basis on my Patreon. And there's different levels that have different sort of extra goodies and things like background content or full concert videos for the shows that I play, things like that. All right, on to the show with Jack Perry.
Welcome to Music in Mind with Anthony Calkin.
Well, hello everybody. I'm here with Jack Perry, who is a drummer, producer, musician, artist based in the Los Angeles, Orange County area. And Jack and I met a long time ago at UC Irvine, University of California, Irvine, probably like 2014, 2015, something like that. I'm sure.
Zot.
So almost 10 years ago now. And Jack was a badass undergraduate drummer at the time. And the program I was in, we were always calling on Jack to come play songs with us. And so how's life?
It's good. How embarrassing is this? I tried to open it like with my fingers and couldn't.
Oh, no.
Such a little baby.
Well, because you're not a guitar player. You got those soft drummer fingers.
Yeah, I got those soft well, at least the fingernails aren't like, Nosferatu like you guys.
Well, I have to be careful opening beers with my fingernails because I'll like make the edges rough or tear them or whatever.
Yeah.
I have to be all precious about my fingernails.
You got them things on you.
Yeah.
Nice. Sorry, I forgot the question you asked because
I just said, how's life?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Just kind of doing as much creative shit as I can, and there's gigs and things and fun stuff to do.
Yeah. Yep.
I love recording though. That's like,
you love recording. Well, what are you drinking to start with? That looks pretty fun. Or
I found this at, I think it was Grocery Outlet.
Okay.
It's Brewery X, which is, I guess, a Anaheim brewery.
Is this the same brewery as our last failed attempt at a podcast? Okay. Yeah. How was that one, by the way?
It was good.
I feel like the experience was ruined.
It was, and I was just like, I can't leave this beer now, so I ended up just drinking beer during the day like an animal. But this is called Slap and Tickle.
Okay.
Yeah, so
wow.
I only pick the weird shit,
Yeah, but it's also funny that it's from Grocery Outlet, of all places.
Well, it's like the Grocery Outlet out here, and they get some interesting stuff. Like, you can go in there and not really know what you're looking for and then find stuff.
That's interesting. I feel like the Grocery Outlet I always used to go to in Long Beach, basically, it didn't really have anything. It was very
just an empty store.
Yeah, nothing. I was like, what? How are they staying open?
Yeah. No, I just I wanted to pick something interesting. I like, I have a beard and long hair, so I like IPAs.
Yep.
So I went with that. This place is pretty good. We have like a ton of breweries out here in like our little area of Anaheim.
Oh, nice. Have you been to that particular brewery outside of Grocery Outlet?
Well, I've seen it.
Okay.
It's I think on like Lincoln, which is one of the main streets. But there's a lot. I guess it's kind of a thing out here.
It seems like everywhere is all breweried out now. Like Austin is filled with breweries, and I mean, Southern California has so many of them. It's crazy.
This is pretty good.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Lone Star, the national beer of Texas.
Nice.
That's actually what it says.
Well, the king of beer was taken.
Yeah, it's actually I like it. It's cheap. I wasn't going for anything crazy today, but it's like Budweiser for Texas.
Yeah, brother.
It's fine. I mean, it's serviceable and it's cheap. You go to a bar, they're like $2 or $3. So, yep. There's good IPAs out here though too. They're different than California IPAs. They're really malty here.
Yeah, we're all about the hops out here. Hazy, hoppy. I don't know what any of that stuff means, but we got hops.
Yep. All right. So that's your beer. How about your life? How about your music life? Because actually, I haven't seen you in years. The last time we saw each other was a poker game, like 6 months ago or something like that. An online poker game.
The home game we got. Home game.
Yeah, every now and then I come to it and lose money.
Yeah, same.
So you're pretty good. I feel like you were winning money.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of play a lot.
Yeah.
I go to Vegas probably like once a month or once every 2 months to play.
Oh, wow.
And and I play every day too.
What's it like going to Vegas to play?
Well, it's way cheaper than LA for sure.
Really?
Yeah, because LA has kind of weird poker rules and things. So like you have a limited amount of places to play, and of those places, it's kind of expensive because you have the rake, which is the amount that the casino takes for every hand. It's like the cost of playing. And in LA, they have just a straight like flat rate, which ends up being like I think $7 plus like $1 extra for a jackpot thing that they run. And in Vegas, it's 10% of every pot up to $6 at a lot of places.
Oh.
And it'll be like cheaper stakes. So like if you play at a Hustler Casino, for example, you have a 2-3 game. Those are like the blinds, and then you have to buy in for at least 100, and it's capped at 300.
Oh, so that's kind of nice in a way.
Well, I kind of don't like that because you get in these spots where you're kind of just like putting all your money in, and it influences play. Like you're trying to build the pot up early to get past the rake, and then you kind of commit yourself and your whole stack by the turn. So there's a lot of like variance in LA. So people are just like shoving money in, and sometimes it's a flip, sometimes it's 60-40, and but you could have huge swings of money. In Vegas, the place I play is usually MGM, and that's uncapped now, which is you can buy for as much money as you want.
So you could show up at a table with way, way, way more money than everybody else and just kind of like wait them all out.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
And also, it's a cheaper game overall. Like it's a 1-2. Those are the blinds. But people will show up there with $1,200 in their stack, which is like huge.
So that means $1 and $2 blinds. Okay.
Yeah. And in LA, you can play 2-3, and the max you can buy in for is $300.
Right.
So it leaves you in kind of a position like, oh, I've already paid, like there's already $120 in the pot, and now I'm gonna like, I can't really bluff anymore. Someone doesn't have enough behind for me to bluff, So then you're just like, I think I have the best hand, all in. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in LA.
So it sort of limits your ability to kind of play poker at a certain level.
A little bit. It's like a different style. There's definitely an LA style. There's also like a Texas style because they have their own rules. Yeah, because there's a big scene. I mean, obviously, like it's Texas Hold'em, but the places where you can play poker are kind of limited in America
Uh-huh.
because of how much it costs. But one of the top places to play is definitely Texas because they have a
Okay.
couple
So
really
where do
popular
people go?
spots.
Is it like Houston?
I think it's
In Dallas?
well, I'll say the places that people usually play are like Texas Card House or the Lodge Room. Those are like the most popular.
Okay.
Those might be in Dallas,
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know.
Austin. Yeah, I hear those are good places to play. I've never tried it,
Nice.
but yeah, poker's kind of like it's like my other hobby. You know,
Uh-huh. You call it a hobby? It's not.
I guess it's a side hustle. It doesn't like that money doesn't touch real money. You know,
Okay. Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
liquidity. Like I just keep it in a fire safe.
Okay.
And when I want to feel like I'm balling, you know, you just take out a stack of hundreds and you feel like you're the shit.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'll
Nice.
just lay on the floor and I'll tell my wife to like spray it on me.
Spray. Do
Yeah.
you have one of those like a card shooter that you could use for bills?
That
Maybe
I
you
mean,
should
someone should
invest in one. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Patent pending.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so other than poker,
Other than poker,
what is your life?
I'm playing gigs every weekend with
Nice.
cool people.
Mhm.
Play for now I'm playing in Disneyland a couple times
Oh, cool.
these these next few months for like their beer and wine festival.
Okay. Is this with one of the Disney bands or is this with a band that's brought in to Disney?
I'm pretty sure it's a band that's brought in, but they have like a residency,
Nice.
and it's just like a you're in like the circuit where you get called for like groups that are put together. They don't really like rehearse or anything, of course,
Uh-huh.
but you all know each other. You've played 100 gigs together, and we all know the set list. So
Yeah.
you
Are they
get called
reading
in.
gigs? Do you have to read charts or they
No.
send you recordings, that kind of thing?
No, it's like there's a kind of a universal set list in LA for regular gigs
Okay.
that like if you're not in the scene or you're not no one tells you about that,
Yeah.
just like don't know it, and you might show up to a jam session
Uh-huh.
right out of college. You're like, I'm so ready to get gigs now.
Yeah.
And then they call some Erica Badu
Uh-huh.
song at this place, and you're the only person that doesn't know it on stage, and it just looks so fucking bad. But it's not your fault, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been there too,
Yep.
where I'm like, and I'm in front of like a lot of people. I finally get the courage to sit up at the drum set, and they're like, "Oh, you don't know this like kind of obscure Jill Scott song?" Oh, like
Oh,
and
no.
you just get vibed really hard.
Oh no, that's terrible.
And you might be able to say, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
And maybe it's a song that's just like a groove that you can hang on. But
Right. But if
sometimes it's not.
specific,
Sometimes there's
if
hits.
Parts. Yep.
Sometimes there's a drum part that's like, oh, if you don't play that, you don't really know the song.
Oh man, the jam things are hard. I think I probably don't know the LA like set list very well myself. I mean, I had this problem when I moved to Austin because I started going to jams and like I didn't know blues rep that well. And it's just it took a little while. Like I'd go to these jams, and it's like I can't get up there. I don't like I can play a blues, but like these people like know this music. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of things like that. Like I always thought that if I was to do like a master class for like high school students going into college, I feel like I wouldn't talk about anything on the drums. I wouldn't be like, check out this accent pattern, it's orchestrated this way. Like it wouldn't be about that. It would be like learn tunes, go to these jams wherever they are, wherever there's people hanging out that are cool. Even if you don't play, hang out, see what it's like, see what other people are doing. And then when someone calls a tune, figure out what tune that is,
Yeah.
and then like
Go home and learn.
check that shit out, you know?
Yep.
Just like meet people, you know, and yeah, like get acquainted with that scene first.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once you're in contact with those people and you start like building kind of a mini community, you're networking, like in other words.
Absolutely. Yep.
You can kind of start on that journey. You can start doing some like free work for people because you just want to like, you want to show people what you can do. Like,
how do you feel the free work for people? That's an interesting thing. You mean outside of a jam?
Yeah.
You mean go play for somebody for a gig free?
Well, not necessarily like, hey, can I play in your band? I'll do it for free. Like not like that.
I don't think you should say that.
No, of course not. But I do think that there's stuff you can do like when someone you're trying to get acquainted with, or maybe you just met them, but you really like their playing style and they're fun to play with, and maybe you can just tell that like they know people too.
Yeah.
When they go, hey, there's this gig in Long Beach or whatever, and yeah, we're just gonna play for a little while. It pays $50. Like, do you want to do it? Yeah. Okay, is that like financially advantageous? No,
not really.
But how else are you gonna show people?
Yeah.
How you sound and how you conduct yourself on a gig?
Absolutely.
Right? Because you're realistically, people don't call you because you're good. People don't know you're good.
Right.
And no one's going to say, I've been calling this guy, my homie, for 10 years, you know, but this guy's so good. I'm going to call this new guy. Like, that's not the way it works.
Sometimes, if you're really good.
Maybe, but it's really like everyone reaches, there's this threshold of like good enough to play a gig and enjoyable to play with.
And then you're going to get called by the people who like you.
Everybody else, everybody's here, right? Yeah. And some people are way up here and they get called for like big shit.
Yeah.
And when they can do some of these like regular gigs, it's like they're not even thinking about the money. It's just like, I'm on the off time. I just want to like kind of play with the guys I haven't played with in a while. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yep.
We're going to be drinking beers, whatever. So when a spot opens up for a gig because another guy got a better gig, they're going to call another one of their homies that's usually available. Okay. And then say he or she can't make it. Now we're looking through our contacts like, fuck, who are we going to get in like a week's notice who's not like already high in demand?
Right.
Like, who doesn't have a Saturday gig right now? Well, actually, I played with this dude at this like Monday night jam and he seemed like pretty good. And I think he just moved to LA from Austin, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Let's throw him a gig and, you know, and then now you're on this like list of people that they can call when they need somebody.
Yeah. I guess unless you royally screw it up.
And then, like show up on time, dress right,
hopefully play
no tunes and play well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to take like a little bit of preparation on your part too, like way extra. It like, if you're looking at 50 songs on a set list that you don't know and that's say this gig,
if you actually don't know all 50.
Right. But
it's a lot of work. Yeah.
It's like just part of the job. Like,
Yep, absolutely.
Because you're not learning 50 songs for this one gig. You're learning 50 songs for every gig in the future that they or someone else calls you for. Right? Some people like I've heard this. I definitely heard this when I was in college. Was like someone pays someone else $150 for a gig coming up, and it's a bunch of songs that they don't know, and they go, "I'm not learning all these songs for $150 gig. You're gonna have to pay me. You're going to have to send me all these charts. You're going to have to do like all this." And it's like, you're learning this for you, dude. Right. Like this is going to be from here on out. Like you're just going to have to know tunes.
Right. Yep.
And most people only think about that, like, especially in the college academia context, they think about that in like jazz terms. Like,
Yes.
I got to know the entire real book,
Mm-hmm.
of course, because they require 256 learned songs to get into Cal State Fullerton,
Right.
you know?
Do they
But
actually?
I mean,
Probably.
supposedly,
Yeah.
it's like a whole thing.
It'd be funny if they made you play all 256.
I mean, I heard
Like,
that
we're going
from
to be
like,
here for 5 hours.
yeah, well, you remember that guy, Sean Graham, who's an upright bass player. He was at UCI the same time we were.
Yeah.
And
I
he
don't
was
know if I
trying to
remember.
get into like the master's program there, I think.
Mhm.
He was saying like they had 200 standards to learn,
All right. Cool.
which is like hilarious to me. But you kind of have to do something like that because there's
Yeah.
plenty of situations. I'll show up to a gig. Maybe I don't even know everybody that's on the gig.
Right.
Maybe I'm meeting new people. So I don't really know like what they usually play. But anyways, they turn around. We're noticing that like people are dancing and we want to like keep the energy up.
Yep.
And they call a song that wasn't on the set list, but they figure everybody knows.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when someone says, "Do you know that?" and you go, "Oh yeah, I know that," then they're just so comfortable with you.
Yes.
They're like,
Yep.
"This guy's good. He listens to music. He like understands." We don't need to send him a set list of exactly what song we're playing every time before we call him on a gig because that's just a hassle.
Yeah.
We're all trying to like cut costs, right? No rehearsals, no extra emails.
Yeah. It's true. So what are the LA songs? I'm curious about this because I think Voodoo Child every day of my life in Austin. And it's funny because I moved here and I was like, I don't want to learn this song. I hear it so much. I like hate this song now. But I hear that every day of my life. I hear Roadhouse Blues all the time.
Yeah.
Them Changes, Buddy Miles.
Oh, not Thundercat.
Actually, that one too. But that one's not a standard. There's like a few bands I play in that do that tune, but that's not expected. Nobody's expected to know that song.
You got to go Footsteps in the Dark, Isley Brothers, Into Them Changes.
Ooh.
Because, same drum beat and everything. Yeah, like there are, I mean, do I want to play I Want to Dance with somebody? Like,
see, it's fine. I never
gig?
played that song.
Oh, that's on the LA set list. Like,
I love this. I love that there's actually regional differences. And like we're talking about the regional differences in poker. It makes me happy about the world. Like, I don't like that you can get watermelon in January in Wisconsin. That's messed up. You're not supposed to.
That's not right. Won't stand for this.
Yeah. So I want to dance with somebody.
Yeah, well, that's like the wedding set list. That shit is on there, man. I think no matter where you go.
Yeah.
In LA, we're playing, I think, more Stevie and Michael.
Sure.
Than other places.
Yeah.
Like we'll be playing Stevie tunes that like maybe everyone plays Superstition.
Yeah.
And and all that. But like in LA, we're playing like Golden Lady.
Oh wow.
We're playing like like lesser known ones, but just everyone's like got it
very
in their
hip.
head.
Nice.
Yeah, we're like, oh yeah, I don't want to play that one. I want to play Do I Do,
I mean, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it makes it more fun because we're all playing kind of shitty gigs, like normal shitty gigs regularly, and we're looking for ways to make it like fun. We don't want to just play covers. We want to like basically make all these tunes standards.
Yep.
And then depending on who you call, that tune could sound wildly different, but still killing.
I mean, it's great that ability for a tune to sound wildly different. I've been kind of on this on the podcast lately about asking musicians about whether they consider themselves tradespeople or artists. Because I feel like, especially getting into the cover grind, I start to feel like I'm showing up to do a job a lot. which isn't necessarily bad, but like it's in a way like similar to a plumber. Like there's just a thing that you're coming to do, and you're getting
Yeah.
paid to do that thing.
It's
Sometimes that
definitely
thing is like be Spotify.
right. There's a time and place for sure. Like if I'm, but here's like 2 gigs. One gig I'm gonna play on Saturday is at this place in Long Beach called the All Dubliner.
Oh yeah, nice.
Oh yeah, you know that place, right?
Yeah.
So 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m.
Okay.
Okay. And we're in, a part of Long Beach where there's a bunch of party people.
Yep.
There's a comedy club nearby. And this isn't like a 5-star Michelin restaurant. This is like
It's cool.
It's not
The
even
food's
a-
all right.
it's not even a dive, but it's like,
It's like it's a chain too. It's weird. It's a little bit odd.
yeah, it's weird, but it's like an Irish pub
Yeah.
first and foremost.
Yep.
And we play loud there. And for this band, it's always like different people in it. It's usually a trio, and singer's got a certain set list that she likes, a lot of funk and R&B.
Cool.
And on this gig, we stretch out. We're trying to make it interesting and fun.
Mhm.
And the musicians that she calls are typically really good. They all have other projects.
Mhm.
And we all just kind of come together for this one thing. No rehearsal, of course.
Right. Right.
But we all know these tunes and we know how to like push them while acknowledging their fundamental,
Mhm.
like if I played Rock With You by Michael Jackson and I didn't play if I didn't play that, that's like against everything all good in the world. But once we get to like the bridge or something, and I can feel that the bass player wants to like take a solo or play some like crazy, line over that, we can kind of like push it a little bit, or like what is the essence of the song, and then how can I make this more like
Right.
anyone can play this cover tune anywhere, and that's the most boring thing ever.
Yes.
But we're in a trio, like we don't have horns, we don't have a keyboard player.
Right.
Let's
So it's not going to
Let's,
sound
like-
exact anyway.
let's use our like knowledge, our shredding ability
Right.
to turn this into something. And maybe it's not like a bunch of notes and crazy stuff. Maybe I want to like turn this into something completely different, like a different style.
A waltz.
Yeah, a waltz. That would be hip.
Yeah.
Da, da, da.
It's hard to
Yeah.
do.
But, we kind of reserve the right to do stuff like that as long as it sounds good. And it depends on how the crowd is responding to us. If like no one's really looking at us or like caring,
Yeah.
maybe we don't push it as hard. But if people are like really into it and they can tell that like there are musicians putting their own stylistic approach and sound toward it, like that's
Yeah.
something really unique. That's
Yeah,
something that
absolutely.
you're not going to find at other places. So that becomes kind of like a reason for people to go out. Like I like the idea of people going out and trusting a bar establishment and a band
Mhm.
to create something entertaining for people.
Yeah.
All right, so that's one gig. And then I'm going to play on Sunday, I'm going to play at Inside Disneyland
Uh-huh.
for their food and wine festival.
Right.
I'm not going to do any of that shit there.
Of course.
It's not the place, okay?
Yep.
But it doesn't mean
Play
I'm
the
not.
tune as
Well, I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm going to play the tune note for note,
right.
but I am going to be kind of limited in my scope of like this is not the time for gospel chops,
Right.
This is a time to play the tune, play it like slamming still,
Mhm.
but keep in mind they're not here for you. They're not
Right.
even really here to see a band. the band happens to be playing and they got beers, they're looking at the wait time for
Yeah.
Splash Mountain or whatever. So
Sure.
there's a difference there. And you kind of have to know that going in, depending on who you're playing with and all that.
Yeah.
There are places in there where you can kind of like push it and take liberties, but you have to really hone in on what that is before you can take that risk.
And do you feel like an artist in that situation?
At Disneyland,
Yeah.
definitely more of a service
Right.
being implemented there. I'm not an artist really. The singer is more of an artist, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
in that situation, because there's going to be crowd interaction that's unique to her,
Right.
and she's got her own set list and her own like vocal timbre. Like she's not going to sound exactly like Michael Jackson
Yeah.
when she sings a Michael Jackson song. And
Right.
I might sound just like Jeff Porcaro, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right.
So I guess it comes down to like, if you're trying to sound like someone else.
Yeah. Are you trying to express yourself? Are you trying to express someone else? And that's kind of a weird thing to do in a way.
Yeah. So if I'm at a gig like that, or I'm at a wedding, you know, like, or, you know, funeral, you know, like all these things are when it's not about you.
Yeah. Although a wedding, you know, I used to do sound for this company called Design Sound in LA, and they would work with what's the name of the contracting organization? I think LA Music.
How original.
Yeah. But they'd like amazing bands, just like
Mhm.
killer band. And we'd do like Kanye events and like weddings for, I don't know, gazillionaires up in like Malibu and stuff. So the weddings were awful to run. You have to like show up with a semi the day before and like back it down some crazy hill. But the bands were amazing. And actually it was the drummers. And they'd be like, it's funny because it's like the same drummers who are on this like mega church circuit around LA. And they were just like wailing all night. And just like adding these crazy like drunk grooves and quintuplets. And they're just like, it was crazy. I was like impressed that a wedding band would do this. But they just got the crowd going so much that they do, you know, like Levitating, Dua Lipa. Although I feel like that song wasn't out yet. But something like that. Like Bruno Mars, Locked Out of Heaven. And he's just like going crazy on it.
There is like a stylistic thing that you can tap into if the band is right. Like I assume what you're talking about is the kind of new pop style where people are adding hits and all these kind of like chromatic lines to accentuate things. You know that?
Yeah, like
that
he's
like,
adding all these like jazz extensions
and that's church.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
You know, Baptist church stuff.
Yeah.
And with the right group, when we all say like, yeah, we're gonna do that, then I'm like deriving my playing from a different place.
Right.
But it still needs to be stylistically that.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm it may sound like a drummer is like pushing in terms of like his content. You know, like he's playing a lot of fills and stuff, but his fills need to be heavily aligned with the rhythms of the band.
Right.
You know, if you're playing hits on all these big like stabs, he's not playing like stuff that's hard to figure out like where the time is. He's playing a lot of you know, like steady eighth notes or 16th notes, you know, whatever like the foundational rhythm for the song is. Whether it's like triplets or you know, eighth notes, whatever like the skeletal backing of that is, it's very clear. And so like that clarity is more like where you have to check yourself. Like if someone's playing way too many notes in between there and not and it seems a little more like self-indulgent,
Yeah.
then you have to like take a step back there. It's not really what they're asking for. And maybe like that's more of like a tradesman kind of vibe,
Right.
but being able to do that can kind of make you an artist because
Mhm.
you're what's the word?
I
Am
don't
I just drunk? I'm
know.
uh versatile. That's what I'm
Right.
looking for.
Right. Hmm. I
So
mean,
like,
the particular drummer I'm thinking of was really good, and yeah, he wasn't not serving the rhythms of the band,
mhm.
and he wasn't departing for long. He was just departing often and to very complex things for that type of music.
In order to set up the band, right?
Probably. I mean, he was bringing an insane amount of energy.
Yeah. It's got to be slamming, and it's got to be for a purpose, right? No, I would just I would bet that when you saw him, it wasn't like all about the drummer necessarily, but the drummer is like serving the music in a way to
Yeah.
where like the responsibility is on him to
Yeah.
bring
Although
everything
he
up.
did take some very long solos.
Really?
Oh yeah.
For like a wedding band?
Yeah.
Wow. That's sick.
Dude, the crowd was loving it. It was insane.
I mean, if you got a good drummer in a band, the band is good.
I mean, the thing is,
You
and they
know?
were all so slick. They're all in like, like tuxes with bow ties, and like they all have in ears, and it's just like it was just
Yeah, so
sharp.
they're locked in.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the situations I like when you show up to one of those wedding bands and you can actually like have fun and everybody realizes like what it's about.
I mean, a wedding band should be like the vibe that you're projecting should be fun. So in theory, you should be having fun.
Yeah,
I feel like it's very hard to make a gig seem fun from a listener's perspective if you're hating it.
hmm for
Like,
sure.
I was at a jam last night at this place in Austin called the Skylark Lounge, and it's a blues, soul, funk jam. So like that kind of mix of things, like a lot of Parliament, a lot of James Brown, just like I don't know that sort of stuff, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And this guy came in from out of town. He was from New Jersey, and he started playing some like classic rock, like some Allman Brothers stuff. And it was like he wasn't even bad, but he and the rhythm section, like the drummer and bass player, were like at complete odds.
They weren't locked in.
And the
They're like,
drummer
we
and bass
don't
player
take
were just
kindly
like
to this.
they were just like
strange.
fuck this.
Yeah.
And he's strumming like a G chord and a C chord. And they're just
Get
like
the fuck
they're
out of
just
here, dude.
ignoring him, and they just are like, all right, let's go into like September. And the host for the jam had to be like, guys, he doesn't know that shit. Stop it. Play what he's playing.
This is Texas. In LA, it would have been like, okay, someone else. That's it. Like kick this guy out.
Yeah,
Take
it was pretty
his
funny.
clothes. Give me his watch.
But like nobody in the crowd was enjoying this situation.
Yeah, of course. It's not really. That wasn't about the crowd for sure.
No. It was
Yeah.
weird. That guy had bravado too. He got up and he's like, "You know this song? I don't even remember what the song was." And they were just like, "What is it?" And he started playing it. And the drummer just like started looking away, ignoring him, and just like grooving on something else.
Vibed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it's a jam, it's like, well, it's like, who are you there for? Sometimes jams are about the crowd too, because people just want to see who shows up. But it is Texas.
I think it's shitty. I mean, I actually most of the jams here are really cool, and I like that jam, and the musicians there are really good. But it's definitely more vibey in terms of like you get what we're doing or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I've never been to a jam in LA.
Oh, yeah, it's It's very clicky at most jams. I've been going to this one jam in LA for probably like 6 years now.
Oh wow.
It's like my favorite place to go, and it's where I met like a lot of my closest LA music friends.
Uh-huh.
This place called the San Fernando in Glendale.
Okay.
And what's really cool about it, well, the first time I ever showed up, it was like empty. But I showed up, I recognized like one person in the band, and they were playing all this killing shit that I love.
Yeah.
Like if anyone knows about like the LA Improvisations album by Mark Juliana, any of the stuff that was happening at like the Blue Whale with Knower, Tim LaFave, and Kneebody, like all that kind of like sub bass music, kind of drum and bass influenced. They're doing all that stuff, and they were all just like shredding, and they sounded amazing. And at every other jam I've been to, I mean, I've been to like, the Federal. I went to the Blue Whale Jazz Jam. I went to the Baked Potato Jam. All these places were so clicky and so like, I don't know, they just weren't fun. And it felt like everyone was just trying to get like a piece of exposure, but there wasn't really anyone to give that exposure off to. Everyone was just kind of trying to hustle for work and stuff. And
man, I feel
music
like
sounded bad.
That's what I remember about LA too, is like there's this like aggressive networking thing that has this desperation in it that sucks so much. Like I used to go to, I don't even remember Richard Savory from UCI.
Yeah.
But I used to go to like film composer networking events and like video game composer networking events with him. And I just hated it. It's just this like I don't know, air of desperation around the whole thing, and everybody's like, "Oh, I've got like 6 projects I can't talk to you about," and I'm just like, "Well, then why are you talking to me about that?"
Fucking kill me, dude.
And they're like, "Oh, here's my card. Here's my card. Here's my card." It's like, okay, I'll go throw this away. Thanks.
For sure, yeah. It's
like,
not
that's not how a connection
real.
is made. Like,
no,
you hang out with somebody a few times, maybe you play with them a few times, and you're like, "Oh, I like how you like." A relationship is established over time.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just not, it's not a way to network, and no one's getting anything out of this, and the music is suffering as well. That's the worst. That's the worst death.
That's so bad. So
like nothing is working
good,
here.
Though.
That was good because like
is it still going?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's been going for forever, man. So I showed up there and I'm just like, this is sick. Okay. And then me like coming from listening to that music, which is kind of like, people know about that stuff, but it wasn't super like it is now, in the age of like Instagram and everything. So like I go up and I kind of like play in that style, and I played a song that like I remember it was by The Police. Everything she does is magic.
Oh yeah.
Which is like,
she does is magic.
It's not the first Police song that people want to play like at a jam, but they called it, and no one knew who I was.
My favorite Police songs. I'm not a huge Police fan, but I like that song a lot.
Totally, yeah. And so this guy who I guess plays in some wedding bands and cover bands, he wanted to go up there, and usually when they don't like know a lot of the people at the jam, as they did at this time, they kind of set up a rando band, where like all the people who want to play together, usually they just set them up and it sounds good. It's great. So then they set up this rando band with me, and I knew the song, which is a great thing for people to like see you know a song. And I played it in that kind of style where I obviously know the song and I know the part, but I'm pushing the boundary of it in a tasteful way, maybe. And then after we were done with that, people were like, who the fuck is that guy? Like,
nice.
I want to go talk to him. And, and then, instant.
That's great.
Like,
that's you won the jam.
I won the jam. I got 100% on the jam.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, like, we just kind of kept in contact and texted each other and, sent things over Insta because we
Right.
talked and we were like, oh, we actually align on so many things. Like
Right.
we listen to the same stuff. Oh my God, you know that? I know that. Oh, that's the sickest shit. I can't believe,
Yeah.
And then you build that relationship. And then that jam started to get like way more popular. Now it's like one of the most popular jams in
Nice.
LA.
Cool.
And I much prefer that than like going to the Federal, and yeah, like you're going to go there and you're going to see like the best players. You're going to see Ronald Bruner sit down and Mike Mitchell and everyone's having a good time. And like all the guys you see playing with everybody are going to be there. But like, good luck having, anybody listen to you, or
That
good luck
sucks.
networking. Good luck even getting up on stage. Sometimes they would have a jam at the Federal and this would like piss
The one
me
in
off
North
so
Hollywood?
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have a jam. There's a house band that plays.
Right.
It's maybe like 9:30 to 10:30.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to start at 7 or 8 or something, of course, right? But they start then.
Oh,
and then
like
the jams
they start late. Oh my.
They start way later than they say they are. That's normal. And then jam's supposed to be from like 11 p.m. to 12:30. But there's no one running this jam. So one group plays fucking Sissy Strut for 45 minutes.
No.
And
Come on.
no one cuts them off.
That's
and
terrible.
then like some big hotshot name walks up, to the drum set and is like, let me play. Maybe it's like Chris Dave or something. He goes and sits back there and everyone's like, oh my God, it's Chris Dave. I want to listen to this. I'm in LA. I'm on some hip shit right now. This is crazy. And then, the jam's over and no one wants to talk to each other. And
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's just
That's
a bunch
miserable.
of bullshit. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, of course, at a jam, people are hoping to like get contacts and get gigs eventually. But I think it's ultimately a slow process and it's a hang. And
Yes.
you want your jam to have a hang vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a jam here. So there's three jams here that I really like. There's the blues jam every Sunday night here. There's like more of a rock jam, and then there's that funk jazz soul one, which is a little vibier. But then there was this jam that was going on at one point, and the house band was this just like run by this shredding guitar player. He's amazing, and like he's like his sound is Austin blues rock, Stevie Ray Vaughan, but he's like studied Coltrane, and his whole technique is like this Coltrane sheets of sound thing.
Sick.
It's sick. I actually though like have note fatigue after listening to him for like 20 minutes because it's like I don't even know what you're doing and it's so many notes. Like, can you play less notes, please? But yeah. So it would be this thing where it was a 10 to 2 jam, and the house band was set to play for about 45 minutes up top. He didn't start bringing up people to play until 12:30 in the morning. He took breaks. He played for like 45 minutes. It was like 2 tunes for 45 minutes, just like blazing. And he's like, I'm going to go have a cigarette. I'll be back, play some more for you.
And all those people are there for like a jam.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. They're
Just
all
waiting.
like, all these people sitting with their guitars and their basses.
Oh my
like,
God.
Are we going to go up?
That's weird on his part because he's like holding a jam, but really what he's doing is he's trying to get more people who would otherwise show up to this bar to see him and like holding them hostage.
Yes. Which is dumb because he actually gets gigs around town. Like he's a playing guy around town. Mm-hmm. So like he doesn't need to do that.
And I'll say this too. It's kind of fucked up to show up to a jam like trying to play and not show up for the house band.
Sure.
Like I understand if you got something going on. Yeah, of course. But
like I show up to jam
try to make
sometimes coming from another gig or something.
Right.
Yeah.
You should try to make it to hear the house band because they are kind of presenting their own shit and setting the precedent for the future of what this night is going to be.
Yeah.
And they have to do all the work. And you're going to play on their equipment and
Right, exactly.
everything. And like, if you want to network with them, they're kind of the most important people to
they
network.
have the gig, right?
They have the gig, and they're not going to be able to do the gig always.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to think about people who they met through here. Like this is a way for them. Like even other drummers, like some drummers are like, oh, I don't need to like network with other drummers. They're my competition. Who the fuck you think is going to call you when they can't do the gig?
Yeah.
They're going to want to put their gig in good hands.
Yeah.
Obviously not too good of hands because,
that's the whole, you get the gig stolen from you.
Yeah. You don't want to call someone who's way better than you, but at the same time, it's all
you need to
networking.
call someone who's going to do the gig right. If you call someone who
does a gig bad,
fails, it doesn't look that good on you.
It looks horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot.
Well, because like ultimately the gig is your responsibility to make happen correctly.
Yeah, it's great to have people to call, and it's great to, like, when other drummers trust you.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
Because then, like, hopefully the people that trust you are people who are really good at their craft, and they're going to get a big gig. And this goes for any instrument. Like, whenever someone gets some big touring gig, they just give all of their gigs to their best homie who's trying to hustle for work and they know is reliable and is going to show up.
Right.
Maybe not like the most shredding player on the scene, but it's going to be like the most reliable and good sounding.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. But yeah, you want to be friends with all those people.
Absolutely.
That's like, that's one of the things I'd talk about in that masterclass, to the high school.
I like
kids.
this. We're crafting your class here.
Yeah, right.
Good. So what about the other side, the production work? You mentioned you're a producer.
Oh yeah. So I was kind of lucky to, like, I always wanted to learn how to record and stuff because my goal is to be like versatile and to just provide like a bunch of services.
Yeah.
So before the pandemic, I was trying to hone in on that, just like starting to buy mics, starting to learn how to streamline that and get good sounds.
Right.
But at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of money and this stuff costs a shitload.
Yeah.
So I just started in this little room, way smaller than this room. So you could fit a small drum set in there and you're basically close miking everything.
Right.
You couldn't really do any ambient miking in there because there just wasn't enough room.
Sure.
Purchased a bunch of rugs off Craigslist and things like that. And, bought a bunch of foam, put it up everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to record and get sounds and, listening back to it now, it's like cringe, man, because it sounds like shit compared to what I have now. But it started me on my journey. And then pandemic happens.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all these people who are like, oh, recording, that's for pussies in the engineering booth, like I play the drums. Everyone else, they put mics down for me. And all I have to think about is
what happened? I'm not aware of this attitude.
I mean, like, no one was like, there were some people who had recording studios in their house, and that was like, oh, you're like a crazy musician guy, aren't you? But I think people mostly wanted to just play and have those people who have specialized education record you.
I see. Yeah.
So pandemic happens, and it's like, oh fuck, I have no gigs and I need to somehow like make some shit happen on social media. I guess I got to start recording. So then there's like this recording boom, and a lot of people don't know how to get sounds or anything.
Right.
And I felt like I had like kind of a head start there, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a head start, just like a couple years. But
Yeah.
so I really like honed in on that and tried to get as creative as I could there. And then, yeah, some years progress and I'm just slowly like investing every little bit, like
Right.
poker money,
Uh-huh.
microphones, dude.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, is sick.
So,
So,
what about the project you were doing with Danny? Well, that was a pandemic
Mhm.
project, right? Or was it?
we were doing it before
I
then.
don't remember. I just remember the clips on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, so we would try to get, some gigs, but, obviously money is not even a consideration here. We're not trying to
Right.
get paid for this. This is creative.
Right.
And so I would record our stuff, but it would really not sound very professional at all. But the performance was good. And I feel like that is the most important part. Like you can
you can deal with a bad recording.
totally and some of my favorite records, some of my favorite videos are done on like shitty iPhone recordings and stuff,
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the most important part. If you have that, then you can do bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to get to the point where I'm mostly recording. I mean, I love performing and everything, but if I could do like 50% less recording and 50% more work in the studio, like I would be happy. I just love being in the creative space.
Yeah.
As you can see, like I got like interesting lighting in here.
Yeah.
I've got, it's just a vibe in here.
Yeah.
And
you could host
panels.
that blues funk soul jam right there.
Yeah, maybe. Get that guy in here.
Yeah.
And there's something about listening back to what you play.
Yeah.
And in sort of like a composition kind of way.
Yeah.
Decide what your parts are going to be.
Right.
And now you're using your technical ability on your instrument to play that part perfectly. And you're finding space for some like, ooh, that was kind of interesting. You listen to that, it's kind of a happy accident. Or I played that, take one just sounds so much better than take three, even though I felt like I played take three better.
I mean, that's a weird thing that happens all the time.
Something about that
I
take
think
one.
I'm playing better, and then I listen back, and it's like, oh, that was not as good as I thought it was.
No, you needed the excitement, You needed to take a bong rip like right before take two. And for some reason, take two just has like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're looking for those moments. I just love it. I mean, I even go back to like the smell of the acoustic paneling. I'm just in here like, fuck.
So how do you feel about the kind of like perfectionism of it, and then perfectionism as a form of procrastination? And then the flip side, like old artists like Andres Segovia or some of the old jazz guys who would never do a second take, regardless of the number of mistakes or anything, because
there shouldn't be
like
a rule
contrary to the
either way.
What'd you say?
I don't think there should be a rule either way.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I will spend, like there are times I've done like 20 takes. I just like, keep going, and I'm like, I'm just trying to get it perfect because I have something in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get a little tired in general at the same time of perfection and quantization.
Right.
And there is like a lack of variety nowadays. Like every single thing is to a click. And I'm such a fucking boomer right now, but like everything is to a click.
Yeah.
There is no just variance in tempo, or like feels like the energy doesn't carry the same.
Yeah.
Because you just feel like everyone's playing it perfectly and they found the right take, and then they cut out certain parts.
And they might not even have been playing it together.
Right.
Yeah.
And, in my studio here, I'm rarely playing it together.
Right.
With someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm searching for the little like oddities sometimes, because that's what's going to make it sound interesting.
Yeah.
not
Well,
like
'cause
everything else.
the Tool album that came out a couple of years ago, the new Tool album. I don't know if you listened to it or if you followed them at all.
I did not,
It
but I
really
love Danny
had.
Carey.
I mean, he's great. I hate this album, and like I know a lot of people like it, but it really feels like four really good musicians just went into the studio, like probably in different months, maybe different studios, and just like laid stuff down and cobbled stuff together.
Hmm.
And it really, I think it can be very difficult with recording to capture what is important about performance, because I feel like it isn't perfection. And it is amazing if somebody can execute something sort of flawlessly. That's difficult. That's impressive. But even if you're like the Ramones and you're doing relatively simple things, what's impressive about that is not that they're doing anything flawlessly. But if they recorded like in different studios all around the place, it probably wouldn't be very interesting.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't
And in
hit.
fact, the only thing that's interesting if you're recording that way is perfection, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because if you're being imperfect and recording that way, that just sucks.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly like what the like the fundamental conclusion that we're getting to, because I'm like a huge Steely Dan head
Right.
as well.
Okay.
And some people say that they are like utter perfection, and they were kind of like perfectionists.
Right.
But at the same time, like take Steve Gadd's solo on Asia.
Mhm.
Very unique sounding, and I don't know if that was done to a click. It might not have been. And
Uh-huh.
I think that Wayne Shorter, rip, man.
Yep.
He may have overdubbed on top of, like, for his solo on that, he might have overdubbed over the drums and everything.
Right.
But there's still like there's areas of nuance
Right.
within that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as the drums being one take.
Mhm.
And I remember I heard some interview about that where they had like Jim Keltner play that part first,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounded great because it's Jim Keltner. And then they had Steve come in later and literally just read the part like on one of his first takes, and that was the take that they got.
Oh.
You know, with a and it's got all these like little Gad isms
Mhm.
that we know today. And like maybe that is the area of like nuance, as opposed to just like like it's okay that it's done to a click, for example, as long as we have some
Your voice.
uniqueness in it. Yeah.
Right. The Jack Perryisms.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something like that. When I play, so like say someone sends me a track and they want me to record drums over it, even if I can record it in multiple takes, like say there's it's a 3-minute song, there's a minute and a half of drums, and there's a break for the bridge or whatever, and then for the final chorus, it wants me to bring drums back in. My typical workflow is I will record it all the way through. Maybe I do 3 takes all the way through.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if I really feel like it, I will take a part of take 2, put it on the end of there. Some people would record a minute, be done. I'm going to record the second minute, later.
That's so weird to me.
Well, it's the best way to get a proper recording. Right?
Because it's hard to play for 4 minutes straight without making any mistakes.
Yeah.
It's actually very, very hard to do that.
It's really hard. It's if you want to do it the quick way, the most efficient way, you do it that way.
Yeah.
But there's information in the first half.
Yeah.
That might change your decision making for the second half.
Right. Also, having played it for 4 minutes straight is going to change the way you play it, and it's going to change the intensity with which you're playing it.
And I also, you get that like that fire burning in your chest and stomach when you're 3 minutes into the song and you're like, this is the part I usually kind of fuck up. But the first half I love, so I can't, I'm like thinking about that, but I'm trying not to think about it.
Yep.
Um,
It's
so
like that
like,
thing is, as you're getting to it, you're like, don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. You are 100% about to fuck it up.
yeah, me not about to fuck up. So yeah, and then because I have that feeling, there's a little more energy in it. Maybe like I played 16th notes a little more ahead of the beat because I was like, don't fuck this up. If I were to play that in a completely calm state, I might have made it sound really like just whatever. Like
Yeah.
we can get a contact player to play these drums,
Yeah, right.
the same or something or clearer. Maybe the placement of my stick on the drum,
Yeah,
little things like that can totally change.
of course. I also think it's very difficult to achieve sort of long-term form in chunks like that. Kei Akagi at UCI used to show me this video of BB King playing Sweet 16 like a few times because I was doing jazz lessons with him, but like I'd never really played jazz properly before coming to UCI. So I didn't know how to play it. So he was like, "Well, you should start with the blues as a guitar player." And he would show me. And BB King would play it for like 12 minutes, this one tune. And it would just start so small. Just this little guitar solo. He's not even singing yet. He goes like 3 times through the form, and it's like a really slow blues. So this is taking like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And then he starts singing it. But by the end of this song, the whole band is like wailing. It's huge, and the horns are blaring, and he does this whole thing where he like falls down on stage, and the band has to come pick him up.
Hell yeah.
It's great. It's amazing. But like, I can't imagine doing that in minute chunks. How is the ending gonna make any sense?
Of course. Yeah, you needed all that build up. It's all a story.
Yeah.
And when you're just, I don't know, we can't make this art form so just computer oriented that we take out any sort of surprise.
Right.
Because we're just gonna get AI to figure that shit out in less than
we
5
gotta
years.
keep tricking AI. That's
yeah.
we gotta make
Pretty
sure.
soon, I'm gonna be able to like plug in 4 drum set recordings that I made into an AI generated thing, and I'm gonna be like, wow, I can't tell if I did that or not.
That's terrible. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the reality we're in. We're gonna have to set ourselves apart from that in a way, because I think AI is gonna be cool to like use. I mean, imagine being able to, like, as a drum set player, as a practice tool,
Sure.
say I have an AI that's like, this is a Herbie, like soloing AI, and we're going to play over the changes of Maiden Voyage.
Sure.
And you get to play with Herbie, kind of.
Yeah.
And maybe even it takes your input and responds to your drums. Like,
and then Herbie's like, huh, nice, man.
yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah. Maybe they have like a Miles Davis AI that like yells at you.
Abuses you.
Yeah, that verbally abuses you. Man, cut that shit out.
Oh man. I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing. Like I think about back, the 80s, the 90s, or the 70s, you get called for a gig. You don't even have Spotify. You can't listen to the tunes. Like maybe you have that record. Maybe you don't. Maybe it'll come on the radio while you're driving to the gig. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
it
like
can be kind of a good thing to learn stuff that way.
Right. But just the mode of preparation had to have been very different. And like your ability in yourself had to be very centered, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have all this material.
Yeah. We have our own version. Well, how old are you?
33.
Okay. I'm 28.
Mhm.
And so I grew up in the era of CDs and
Right.
Walkmans and stuff. And the way I used to learn stuff without the internet was just listening to stuff like either like I would put a CD into my like my TV, which had a built-in CD drive sometimes,
Right.
if it was a modern one, So turn that shit up full blast and you'd be getting that TV speaker
Oh yeah.
distortion. Yeah, sick. And then I'd be playing drums to, Led Zeppelin and just trying to copy. This is before I
Yes.
even like learned how to write music.
Yep.
I would just try to copy like what John Bonham was
Right,
doing.
of
Try to
course.
get the exact sound of the snare because like I feel like nowadays everything is transcribed. Here I am like being a fucking boomer again. I feel like everything's transcribed. You can find it anywhere. If you have money, you could just pay for it, or it's probably free if you look up like John Bonham transcription
Yeah.
PDF.
Yep.
So that doesn't teach you how to like sound like a rock drummer.
No.
There's something about snare contact with rim and stick
Mhm.
that is rock sound. And if you're not using your ear to figure that out, then you're not going to sound anything like that. There's a reason like when you plug stuff into Sibelius, it just sounds like ridiculous. Like that doesn't sound like a drum set.
Right. It doesn't even sound. Drums are so extremely bad in Sibelius, like the worst.
Yeah. And so like we're always going to have to do that. If you're not doing that work, there's going to be something that sets you apart from guys who really know how to make sound quality happen and know how to like change little things in their hands that make them sound different.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
doesn't
because
have to
they're
be
listening
John
while
Bonham,
they're playing and reacting. I feel like it's this. It's another problem of reading, and I used to have this when I was doing the pit orchestra scene in LA. Is I felt like I was getting really good at being bad at like lots of different kinds of music. I was becoming a really good bad rock guitar player and a really good bad jazz guitar player, and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not engaging with this music in any meaningful way because I'm reading a chart down to like I'm being something slightly better than a Sibelius MIDI playback.
And it's because we have a shitty mode of communication for the music.
Right.
Like imagine that BB King recording that Kay had you listen to. Imagine writing that in Western notation.
Yeah.
How much ink there would be.
It would be really hard.
Yeah, like this is actually a quarter step up bend right here. And then when he played this one, he kind of missed the note a little bit, but he's singing on his instrument. He
does a little thing on the end of the note that's like isn't really a pitch that you can find that well, and like
yeah, and we're just kind of like we're using hundreds of years old like a system that was made to play a certain kind of music. And we're trying to apply that to something with a lot of nuance,
right?
Or even like taking it, like try writing out like Indian ragas,
right,
in Western notation. It would look ridiculous. It would look so much harder than maybe actually thinking about it and playing it would be.
Yeah, right.
Those guys, they got a whole system on their hands that they're thinking about.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so cool. Yep.
It's not. Like taking it in Western notation and being like, we're in 1716 is one way to think about it. Or 5, 5, 3, 4.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's another way to think about it. And one takes way less steps.
Yeah.
I feel like Western
the idea
notation
of keeping track of 17 things is very difficult.
Yeah, isolated.
Right, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people who don't think about like odd meter.
I mean, it's like comically stupid.
Yeah, when you
like,
tell
don't do that much work.
Someone who kind of looks at odd meter as like this magic that only 3,000 IQ chess players are able to master.
Yeah,
Those people are like, oh no, I can't do anything like that. That's way crazy, you know. They're not imagining odd meter the same way you are, dude. Like it is hard to think about it that way, sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, counting to 17 is really tough, actually. Keeping track of that many things. I had a funny experience at a jam with a bass player. It was at the blues jam, and I was calling some tunes that were like kind of like dirty blues, boom chaka boom chaka, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And this guy like had this look of terror, and he was like, "Please, can we just only do shuffle blues? That's all I know." And I was like, "Well, it's kind of a shuffle."
what is it? What is a shuffle if not that?
Yeah. I don't know. I think he wanted like doom, 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 doom. I don't know what he wanted.
Well, that ain't a shuffle.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell he wanted. But he was like, please, please only shuffle blues. And so then I tried, I don't know. I didn't like have one in mind. So I had another song that was like really simple, just 1 4 1 4 back and forth. And he's like, dude, where's the other chord? I can't do this.
What are you doing? Where are you here?
I don't know. And then afterwards, he came up to me. He's like, I only learned the 3 chords for the blues. That's all I ever learned. And he was an old guy, and I was
This is
told
not
that
the
he's
place
like a
for you.
player in town.
Yeah.
I was like, what? How is this possible?
Well, it's kind of the same thing as like I I learned a lot of my repertoire on the drum set from hanging out with other musicians, particularly musicians who are in like Baptist churches,
Yeah,
going to those sheds and stuff.
yeah,
And you learn a lot just by watching and listening,
yeah,
and to a lot of people who are outside of that scene, you know, like just think about the whitest whites of like jazz academia.
sure, yeah,
They're trying to figure out this thing that these people have already figured out just by sitting and watching.
Mhm.
Like same like just take drummers for example.
Mhm.
Trying to figure out how to groove right in either a jazz or a funk context. We're talking about, you know, African American music.
yeah.
No transcription is going to figure it out for you. Metronome is not going to figure it out
That's another one
for
where
you.
trying to transcribe those rhythms is going to make it seem really complicated.
Yeah, but they're also not thinking about it that way.
Right.
And well, I think it's as simple as thinking about music and rhythm as like dance, because
Yes.
that's where it's
Yep.
derived from.
Absolutely.
Consistency and trust.
Yep.
You know, like that's essentially what like pocket is.
Yeah.
Pocket
Trust,
as we know it
that's
is like
huge. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
word there.
they're not thinking like a metronome. They're trusting the consistency
Yeah.
of the beat you're putting down in the context of dance,
Yes. Yep.
you know? So it's not as complicated as you think,
Mm-hmm.
but if you were to think in the way that you're trying to attain that sound,
Yep.
it's going to be way more complicated for you.
Absolutely. I have this
So there-
problem with students with strumming patterns, like acoustic guitar strumming patterns. It's exactly the same thing. If I try and explain them, it's like a lot of offbeats and like 16th notes and stuff. And it's like, exactly. It's like you have to trust in the vibe of what you're playing and let your arm just move. Because if you try and break this down and count it as a beginner guitar student, like you're never going to get there.
Yeah, because it could be as simple as upstrokes and downstrokes. You're not thinking E, E.
No, of course
you know,
not.
like no, because that would take way too long. Your brain can't think about all those things. The tempo's
No.
too fast.
Exactly.
You know, it becomes muscle memory at that point.
Mhm.
And that's a way to be more efficient in your thought process,
Yep.
which is all what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Unless you just have more brain. If you took that Elon Musk, you know, chip, you know, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, Yeah, we're trying to condense our knowledge into something a lot simpler.
Yep.
There are people who look at like the gospel chops scene
Mm-hmm.
as just completely unattainable. Like, I'll never be able to play that fast.
Yeah.
It's like they're not really thinking about all those notes. They're not thinking about playing like quintuplets
Right.
in between every eighth note and then like playing this complicated thing. They're thinking about something else,
Right.
and that's coming out.
Yep.
And you're just thinking about it in a certain way that makes it more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's funny. Like, you could either go to college for 4 years and wind up being as confused as you were before,
Yep.
or you could just go to this Baptist church and sit behind the drummer
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
and you'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, the little kid that's sitting behind the drum set player there, that's just hearing everything,
Yep.
is absorbing that shit way faster than you
Yep.
could possibly learn it from like a book. It's this crazy disconnect. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's very true. Do you want to try playing? So I've never done it with a drummer before. Over Zoom.
I didn't really set my drum set up for like.
Okay. Well, then, second question: do you have a track that I could put on? Because I like to play music at the end of the podcast.
I could give you the most recent thing
that you could.
Oh yeah, you want like some original stuff?
Sure. I mean, you can also send it to me. I can just edit it in.
All right.
But yeah, original would be good.
So this is a recording some original music I've been working on with a guitar player named Andy Waddell.
Oh, I know him.
You know Andy?
Yeah, I used to sub for him. Where did I sub for him? It was on a gig. I don't remember where. I subbed for him a couple times.
I'll send it in the chat.
Orange Lutheran High School, maybe.
Oh wow. So he has some he makes like original rock music that reminds me of like a mix of Steely Dan, Blink-182, and REM, like if they had a three-way and nice. Created a love child.
Sweet.
So this is a full take that I did for him.
Oh, sweet.
I did like take a little chunk eventually that like from a different take that I just liked this tiny section better, but 95% of the final recording was from this take.
Nice. I mean, we could listen to it now together if you want to comment on it, or I could just
that'd be cool.
All right, here, let me share screen, sound, everything, so we get similar experience. And close all my other tabs so nobody knows all the crazy stuff.
All the midget porn.
Exactly. You got to be careful about that.
It was the opposite route that was all planned out from the start. You traveled up and down when there was no one else around, torn apart. All I wanted was to get back the other one.
Shout out to Animal.
Yeah, I noticed that. I love it.
I remember the girl. She was all dressed up, singing me nothing that was rough in the world. The book she carried around got in the way of all the sound and the scars. All my life, I saw the star. got stuck in the way. The toll was paid up with the ash by the other one. The other one. Now it's easier to get through the day. We've gone through the change now. We're glad that it's finally done. We can't go back. Little bitter girl, I wish you the best. Little bitter girl, I'll see you one day. Got the other one. Got the other one. There was a discount at the store, but don't go in for a while. Almost made I go to press 'cause you couldn't handle stress from the line. Shades on black, came inside and out. Up, you never filled the cup all the while. You ran with left and right, you could always be different for the fun. I want us to get back to the one. So always got stuck in the way. It's always made up with the ash by the other one. The other one. It's easier to get through the days. We've gone through the change now. I'm glad that it's finally done. We can't go back. Little bitter girl, I wish you the best. Little bitter girl, I'll see you one day. Got the other one. The other one. So all will make this life. It's the only place that truly keeps you alive. Stuck inside a little over again, and I was better off dead. See tracers in the air. I wish you would just sit back and stare. Watch your cruise crawl, laying down in the hall, crawling up in your skin. You feel a bit of blowing. Stuck the band-aid on, I couldn't leave her alone. Don't blink like a doll. Things we could have lived, it's taking you in. Got the other one. Got the other one. Got the other one. The other one. Got the other one. The other one.
Yeah, I love his
Sweet.
stuff.
Yeah, that was badass.
It's like the exact line that I love to parse. It's like where to push,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
where to play, quote unquote, standard rock shit. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And there are places to open up, but
Mhm.
I want also, like, I think the point of this music is to have people listen to it like a lot and
Right.
enjoy it and not
Sure.
necessarily like have to be in a space of like, wow, I'm actively listening right now. Like, that's kind of how I feel with a lot of, like if I were to listen to like Tony Williams'
Yeah.
Lifetime, one of my favorite
Of course.
albums.
Yeah.
Okay, but I need to be in a zone. I can't just be like cooking,
Right.
listening to that or something. Like, you got to be in the right mindset,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying to like parse that line the whole time.
Yeah. I really liked how tied to the rhythm guitar you were during the solo.
Mm.
That was great. Actually, I feel like it kind of the beat you were doing with the where it was like a splash cymbal or something that you were
Yeah.
going to with certain hits. I love that.
So you remember I said like 95% of the track this take I used?
Yeah.
The 5% I cut out was that.
Oh, you didn't like it?
The part in there where I went like like that little and of two thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of spicy and interesting.
Yeah.
Took that shit out.
Ah, that's sad.
But I think it sounds like much better, a little more straight. I think if I was
Sure.
casually listening to that, I'd be like, "Ooh, okay, all right, settle down there, Tiger."
That's
Like easy does it, because it just sounds good as like a heavy foundation being laid under
right,
that.
right.
That's at least how I saw it. That was the only part that I was really like, I wish I didn't take that liberty there.
Interesting. That was my favorite thing.
Oh fuck. Well,
Yeah.
We'll see what Andy does
the
with
drums
it.
sounded really good too. I like the spacing on them and everything.
I was really happy with the drum sound.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get into like nerd mic shit.
A little. Not really.
All right. Well,
So you can tell me.
That's nice.
Tell me nerd mic shit.
all right. Well, here's basically what I do for my mic setup. I got you kind of see what I have going on back here.
Yeah.
Like I bought with my my degenerate gambling money.
Yeah.
I bought a matched pair of 414s, AKG 414s.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, the overheads.
the XLS, not the XL2s, which are a little brighter. So I got the XL. I got those spaced pair. That's usually what I do. And then I have 421s on the toms. Those are Sennheiser 421s.
Right.
It's kind of pretty standard.
Yeah.
Snare mic top is a 57.
Okay.
What I've been doing these days, instead of a bottom snare mic, which is would be a 57,
Right.
I'm miking the shell with a pencil condenser.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Okay. I'm already getting like so horny right now just talking about this. So like the bottom mic on a snare is basically just to give you this like snare like sound.
Rattle, right?
The high end, yeah. And it doesn't sound natural, in my opinion, on a recording, because when you're live, you don't really hear that. You hear the sound of the totality of the snare coming at you from far away.
Sure.
So we're not even in that territory, because we have most of the drums close mic'd.
Right.
So, and then if you're mixing it, you're usually adding a little bit of it. You're not like bumping that all the way up the same as your top snare. So it's kind of like a thing that we've always done, but I don't see the purpose behind it.
Sure.
I watched this interview with Simon Phillips, great drummer, Protocol, tons of shit. He is a very well-established like recording. I think he has his own recording studio called Fantasy or like Fantasia Recording, something like that. He was talking about miking the shell. And so I tried that. Okay. Shit sounds so good. Okay. Like not only do you get all these other things, but you get the snare like rattle sound, but you also get the overtones on like the outside of the snare. If you're playing cross stick, like I am here,
Yep.
you don't have to like have a separate track for your cross stick where you're, maybe high passing different frequencies.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded really good. It sounded really natural.
Yeah. So you get all this other sound.
Whoa.
And you can you can still get like what you're looking for, which is the extra cut, but you
Does
get
that
so
work
much
with
more
other
now.
drums also?
I bet
Like,
it
what if you
would.
side marked a tom or something?
I bet it would work fine. It's more like you don't hit the tom as often.
Right.
So what you're going to get is probably a lot of like resonance and bleed that you would normally gate out.
Right.
That's a problem that you have with like a drum set like this, where
Mhm.
toms are connected to the bass drum.
Yeah.
Every time I hit the bass drum,
It makes
you
the
know,
tom.
if you hear the tom isolated, it goes,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
you kind of don't want that.
Right.
But for the snare, you want all these other frequencies, and then you can choose what you take out. If you're like, okay, the overtones are a little much, I'm going to take out, you know, 1400 or something, or 800 or something.
Right.
But you get so much more in there. And if maybe like, because for years people just mic'd the top of the snare and that was it because we didn't have enough channels. If you just want something to add some distortion to, blend it in a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can do that.
Yep.
So it's really just a bottom snare mic, but you get more
out of
options.
it. Yeah. That's cool.
So I'm doing that from now on. Like,
That's amazing. I love that.
yeah, fuck bottom snare. All my homies hate that. This was made by Shell Snare Miking Gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm doing that. Okay, and then the kick drum, I got a D112,
Okay.
like your standard AKG kick mic, not super expensive. I have a porthole, and I'm putting that about a third of the way in my bass drum, facing away from like the actual beater.
Okay, sure.
I don't know why it sounds better, but I face more to the corner. I just feel like you get a little more bass frequency.
Sure.
It's just been my experience. And then, okay, so I had this great experience when I was touring with this blues / pop artist. We got to record an album with Eddie Kramer, who's like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix. He's royalty. He's a legend. And at the time, like, I didn't really know anything about recording. I was just like the dumb kid, you know, working with this legend. But I still felt like it was necessary to study every single thing that he was doing. And I got a lot of time to just talk one-on-one with him.
Nice.
And like, so something that he did with the bass drum that he made a big deal about was adding mass to the bass drum.
Okay.
You need something heavy inside there. And even more than heavy, something metallic as well. Something that will reflect sound.
Whoa.
And yeah, this is, I've heard other, like in that Simon Phillips interview, he goes, oh yeah, Eddie told me about this thing about mass. And I was like, oh fuck, he told me about that. Like, I'm now cool. You know?
Wait, so you put something heavy and metal in the bass drum?
Yes.
Adding mass is a interesting way of putting it.
It has to be heavy.
Right.
Yes. So, and he explained some shit.
Almost in terms of like the feel of the drum, but what does heaviness do to the sound?
Bro, I could not tell you.
Because if it's reflective, it makes it bounce. But then if you say add mass to it, I almost think of adding something that's gonna like block sound.
It's like density,
right,
as well. And he explained it to me. He even brought like this paper with like this graph, and like I was too high to check it out.
Of course,
to be honest, you know. But he's telling me about it, and what we ended up doing with that bass drum, I thought I was going to be really cool. Like this, he recorded all of the Led Zeppelin albums, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and Physical Graffiti, and he said he recorded it this way, and I thought I was going to be cool. I have a 1970s Vistalite Ludwig, and so I was like, Eddie Kramer's recording me. I'm going to bring my Bonham kick. That'll be sick. We show up there. I set it up. He hates the sound of it.
Oh, no.
So we take the front head off. You know, we just kind of like give up on the bass drum sound, basically.
Yeah.
But he had this motor that he found in a garbage dump that he keeps at his studio, and he set it inside my bass drum on a set of towels. And then he covered the bass drum with a big blanket. And so he had a kick-in mic, he had one further out, and then he had a third kick mic even further out.
All covered in a blanket.
All covered in a blanket.
Yeah, I do that with my amp when I record at home, actually.
Yeah. So he was doing that same technique with the bass drum, but then he added this mass, right?
Oh.
So what I do is I have like this Gretsch tom mount that is I don't use it a lot, you know. It goes with my jazz kit, and this is LA, man. We don't bring more than one tom to a gig unless it pays more, you know. Like, so I take that and I put it in my bass drum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the fuck is going on in there, man, but it sounds good. And like and Simon Phillips in this interview, it's on Produce Like a Pro with that guy Warren Hart. I love his videos. Mm-hmm. Simon Phillips puts a old paint can filled with sand inside his bass drum.
Whoa.
It's a shitload of work too, because like you have to put that inside your bass drum with a bunch of towels, delicately set so that it hits just the right amount of the head. Yeah. And then you got to lock your shit in with a drum head. And then if you ever want to take it out forever, and like if you ever wanted to move your bass drum, you'd have to take it out.
Right.
You have to unscrew all of that, and you need to do it sideways. You can't flip your bass drum like this because then you won't be able to set it.
Right.
So you have to do it sideways, which you have to do this balancing act where you're trying to make sure not to strip anything and not to ruin any wood. It's a stupid process. But bro, sounds good.
Nice.
So I got that going on in the bass drum. I got the D112 facing away from the beater.
Okay.
And then I take a Royer ribbon and I bring that on the, like a little bit further out away from the porthole, obviously, so that, you know, we don't fuck anything up. And then that is my kick out. But what I kind of use that kick out for more than just the, you know, standard kick out use, which kind of gives you the bass drum, I will allow it to pick up the rest of the kit, use it kind of like an ambient mic, just like a floor mic almost. Because the ribbons, they take such a hot signal, you know, and they take a lot of low end too. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll put like something to add distortion, like a Fairchild or something, like a heavy compressive thing on that, and crank that, especially since it's like such a low signal because it takes so much. And then you just blend that in.
Nice.
It gives you this really nice sound that cuts through.
Nice.
And you also get the low end. And if I don't want to do any of that, you can just do a low pass on that, cut everything past 3K, and now you just have this perfect that you can add a sub bass frequency to or whatever.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah. And so that's the drum sound. Like sometimes I'll put microphones like past where you can see right now in like the corners of the room too, and that'll like give some reflective stuff.
Get all sorts of crazy things.
But yeah, that's the drum sound here. And
well, it's great. I think it pays off, awesome. All that stuff. It sounds really good.
Yeah, and then you just got to get a good take. This one probably took me like total of 6 takes.
Sure.
And then I just took that one little part for the guitar solo that you love.
I did love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it.
Well, I'm glad I got to hear it that way though.
Yeah.
Maybe if I heard it the other way, I'd be like, if there was like a hit in there.
Need some like hit, you know, not with the backbeat, and it needs to kind of like drag a little bit too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it gives that uniqueness, right?
Exactly.
But there is a bunch of stuff in there where like,
oh yeah,
I didn't play it like that again. Sure. And I'm really trying to like listen to this track. And, you know, I probably did this too takes before,
Mhm.
and I didn't love it.
Mhm.
But this was the one that was still like fresh in terms of, I still had the fire in me. It wasn't like, okay, don't screw up that fill again. Let's play it, and then it ends up sounding just kind of neutered. I don't know.
Yep. That's how it happens. Well, cool. So what do you have coming up?
Besides like gigs and stuff.
Yeah, or any gigs you want to talk about? I mean, you got the Disneyland gig. You got
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like super cool. Forgive me, Disney. I, you can see me play out
Uh-huh.
like every weekend in LA or OC. Those are typically the two places I'm playing now. Oh, you know Hassan, of course. I'm recording a bunch of stuff for him
Oh, awesome.
coming up for his his solo project.
Sweet.
I believe it's called Antenna Fuzz.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's his thing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing some recording with him. I'm always just trying to do creative stuff when I can. Especially if I have nothing going on, it's like this opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
Something I have been trying to work with is I met this really great pianist and producer.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Quentin Smith. He's got his own music out and everything.
Okay.
He goes by Q. Some of the things we've been doing together have been really fun. We were talking about that wedding band that kind of just brings the energy up and has all these hits and everything. He comes from the church vibe and everything, and we've been working with a couple artists with their original music, and the goal has been to kind of like plus their shit up in ways like that, like on the fly arranging, or we have like one rehearsal before and we're trying to figure out how to arrange it so that this kicks ass somehow.
Right. Cool.
And that kind of stuff is cool, like creating a package for an artist. Say, well, this is what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're an artist, you've made some songs, kind of self-produced, and you're trying to get your stuff out there. So you hire a musical director, someone like me or Q, and we get your tracks, and we could take your tracks, plug them into Ableton, put a live band behind it.
Right.
We take some parts off the track's hands. The track has its own parts.
Mm-hmm.
And we could just play your songs straight.
Right.
Or we could play it live. We could even include some tracks if we want. But now we need to create a live setting that is more, I don't want to say more interesting, but more attuned to live performance. Like, this isn't going to be played in a vacuum. This is going to be played for people who are drinking and dancing and having fun. And we need to create an arc to your performance, right? So how can we do that?
Yeah.
We can use some arrangement styles that a lot of people use in pop music, where we have reharms, we have extra hits like that. We have portions of the song where there's even like a drum solo or something, and the singer's singing the chorus the same as they usually would, but now there's this extra 2 bars of drum solo in between the next one that kind of like kicks it up.
Yep.
Maybe we use your track that has a regular drum part, but now I'm playing drum set, like rock drum set, over your kind of like 808 hip hop part.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're pushing this in a direction, right? And people are going to want to buy your album or whatever, your merch or whatever, because they're like, this band is killing, and I heard this music that I really like, and I want to hear it again. But now I want to hear like what's on the album.
Yeah.
Creating like a package for an artist like that is kind of what I'm trying to do now. I want to like work on that for people.
Cool.
It's a way to be creative. It's a way to like play your instrument. It's a way to play live
Mhm.
and do something better than cover gigs. You know, no shame to cover gigs, but like this is what we want to be a musician for, right? We want to be creative.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
want to play in front of people and we want people to enjoy the stuff that we create.
Yep,
So like
absolutely.
that's something that I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
And I'll be playing with one of those artists coming up. So
Nice.
I'll
people
probably
find it
post
somewhere?
about
Is there
that.
a link or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
I usually post things on my Instagram.
Okay, cool.
I go by
I'll have
at.
a link to all that stuff.
Oh yeah, cool. Truck Perry is what I
Cool.
go by usually.
All right, nice. Well, thanks for talking with me today, Jack.
No
And,
worries, man.
Yeah, thanks for
Happy
playing
to do
some music. And yeah, see everybody later. Go check out Jack's stuff. I'll have links below. Bye.
All right. Thanks for listening or watching. Remember to check out Jack Perry's stuff. Go see a show if you're in the LA area. And remember to like, leave a comment, subscribe, all that stuff. All right. See you next time. Bye.